Hello. Welcome back. Welcome back to ResolveCon 2025. Man, wasn't that great? Please give it up for Darren, man. That was such a great presentation, and we love that. So much wisdom being dropped. I want to thank our sponsors again. We want to make sure that we keep thanking them because they're amazing. Blackmagic Design, DV Resolve, Motion VFX, Whip Templates, and Pixel Tools. You guys are amazing. Thank you for making this event possible. Couldn't do without you. Thank you. Also, reminder, if you haven't checked it out, groundcontrol.film. We have courses on DaVinci Resolve and Fusion, and we're giving away courses for 25% less over this weekend. So very excited for that. Make sure to go check that out. That ends Monday, so get in there first, all right? Also, if you haven't registered for giveaways, make sure that you do that. All you have to do is click the link in the description, and we're going to be getting some great giveaway. Wow, I can't talk. All right. We're going to be giving away some amazing things after every presentation here today and tomorrow. And all you have to do is make sure you're registered and be here to be all excited about it and get some cool stuff. All right. So exciting. So our next presenter, I respect the heck out of these guys. Let's bring them on because I want to just say hi here. Hi, Team 2 Films. How are you guys doing?
Hey, Casey.
Hi. It's good to see you guys. I got to turn on my audio. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I'm so glad to have you guys on here.
Thank you so much for having us. Hey, we love the pizza.
Hey,
but where's our pizza?
Well, it's in the mail. Well, guys, if you don't know Team 2 Films, man, every time I see a video from you guys, I'm just like, dang, that is just an insanely good video. You guys are really giving out a lot of of value, and I'm really excited to see what you have here. And I would try not to overhype you, but I don't think I can. So, so what are you going to be talking about today?
What did you say? We missed that last bit.
What are you guys going to be talking about today?
We're going to be talking about amazing YouTube workflows, right, Leon?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've prepared some stuff all about how you can get more efficient and effective with making your YouTube videos.
Wonderful. Well, you guys are definitely the ones to share that. So I'm really excited. I'll let you go. Thank you for being here. And yeah, we'll see you in a little while.
Casey, thank you.
Thank you. And a big thank you to Casey and to all of the team behind this that's made ResolveCon possible. Thank you so much. And it's great to have all of you here. So in this session, we're going to share workflow tips for creating awesome YouTube videos. But in reality, these principles that we're going to share, they're applicable to quite a wide range of content. And that's because no matter what you're creating, your goal is typically to create the highest possible quality content that you can, but to do so, and here's the key, efficiently and effectively.
So with that being said, Leon's going to take you through our typical YouTube workflow, which I don't think we've done anything on this before, so this is pretty cool. This presentation is split into 10 sections from production to delivery. Editing, color grading, sound mixing, everything that happens in post actually begins in production. The way you film has a direct impact on the way you edit. We're not going to spend long discussing production, but there's two really important things we consider: equipment and style.
So the first thing, equipment, a little bit of information for you. Currently, we film all our YouTube videos on a Blackmagic Pixis 6K. We shoot in 6K because we target UHD delivery. So 6K gives us the ability to zoom in post without losing resolution or detail. But an even more important facet of a camera, beyond the image that it produces, and particularly when it comes to efficient workflows, is the camera's audio capabilities. So this camera does have an XLR input that can supply phantom power. So that means that when we do videos where we use XLR microphones like this one above, we're able to record directly into camera. And that obviously removes one of the steps in post-production. When we're not recording audio directly into camera, the camera has another feature that's useful. It has a dedicated timecode input. So that means you can record timecode to the camera, not as LTC audio timecode, but as metadata that's embedded directly into the video. So The devices we use to do that, we use these devices from Tentacle. This one gets attached to the camera. This guy's actually an audio recorder as well. So when we do our lavalier-based stuff, and we use the Sennheiser MKE2 for that, we record it directly into this guy right here.
And I have to say, these are one of my favorite pieces of hardware. Leon is the equipment guy in this relationship, but I love these, not just because how easy it makes it in production, but when I'm working with footage in post, it just makes it that much easier. I love them. Can't praise them enough.
So the other big facet of production that has an impact on your post-production workflows is the style of the video that you create. So you can create scripted content and you can create unscripted content. The cool thing with scripted, we tend to do most of our scripted. One of the most time-consuming parts of making a video is all of the creative decisions that you have to make. So when you script your videos, you get to make all of those creative decisions with a pen and paper or in a Word document, rather than them having to take up time from the production or the post-production process.
But we also know that the unscripted stuff is great as well. It's often the off-the-cuff comments that can make some of the best videos. But there's still things you can do to be organized if you're working unscripted. For example, you'll likely have an outline of topics you want to discuss. Even if it's just in your head, maybe you have written it down. Either way, stopping and starting the camera in between those topics, it will make your footage easier to navigate in post.
So enough about equipment. We're going to get the screen share going and we're going to jump into Resolve and we're going to demonstrate some elements of our workflow. For this, we're using a project that we've previously released about speed ramping, so you might recognize some of the media. So let's start by making a project, and I'm going to call it Speed Ramps. Now, when we work on a larger project, we typically organize our media into folders based on the day of production, and then within that, subfolders that represent each card or reel that you take off of the camera. But the reality is with a YouTube video, usually filmed in one day, and your entire media might have just come off the camera on one single memory card. So that level of organization would create unnecessary friction on a short project like this. So my media is very simply organized. But just one quick tip for you. When you bring it into Resolve, if you drop it directly into the media pool, Resolve will empty out the contents of those folders into a single bin like this. So let me undo that. And instead of dragging it into the main part of the media pool, if you drop it into the directory tree on the left, what it does is it replicates the folder structure that you've already set up in Finder or Explorer. It replicates that as bins within Resolve. In this project, the audio was recorded separately. If I give you a little bit of playback, hopefully you can all hear this. Oh, this is going to sound really quiet. But that's the scratch microphone on the camera, which is halfway across the room. This is the audio that's come off of the Tentacle, and you'll hear that. Hopefully. Can we hear that?
We can't.
Well, I thought I practiced this. Okay. Let's just use our imagination.
We can believe you by the difference with the audio waveform there, so maybe we can fix it next time.
So that sounds much better. I really thought I'd sort that. Right. So that audio sounds much better. Trust me on that. To synchronize the two, it's really simple. We can just select all of the clips in the bin, go to Audio Sync, Auto Sync Audio. And this dialog here, at the moment, it's set to timecode. Now, that is the option that we want. Just to explore very briefly some of the other options here. Waveform will listen to the scratch audio that's on the camera and then compare that with your other audio, and it will try to synchronize it that way. But new for version 20, this might seem like a simple feature, but in and out points didn't exist in this menu previously. So if you don't have sound on the camera and all you have to go by is the visual, well, you can set an in point where the slate comes together on the camera, and you can set an in point where the slate comes together in the audio, and that will actually marry up the two as well. So it's great to see that. So we'll do it by timecode. And because I can't play the audio, let me just go to the inspector, and you'll see here that now that channel says blue. That's a piece of metadata that it's taken from the audio recorded on the Tentacle track E. So the two are married. So now we're going to talk about editing dialogue. Dialogue drives most factual content, and these YouTube videos that we're creating, they're factual content. That's why dialogue is generally the first thing that we put into the timeline, because dialogue drives all of the timings in the video. This recording of Natalie, it's not a clean recording. It's got all of her mistakes and all of the retakes that she performed in there. So our first job is to neaten up that recording and get rid of all the junk from it so that we've just got a clean read through of the script. Something that we're going to do just before we start doing this, I don't know if you knew this, but you know when you select clips in the timeline, well, you can adjust their properties in the inspector. You can also do that with clips in the media pool. You can adjust their properties in the inspector. And because most audio recordings, they're typically recorded a little bit quieter than they need to be. So we leave overhead in case anyone makes a loud, excitable sound, where we can capture that without it clipping. But because of that, it's common to have to put gain on even a well-recorded audio clip. If I do it now, while the clip's in the media pool, I'm going to add 16 decibels of gain. That's what typically works for our recordings. If I do it now, then instead of doing it later, once I've chopped the clip up into 100 different clips as I've edited the timeline, it's easy for me to do it now because I can do it in one place than later on when I'd have to do it in lots of different places. So we're ready to start playing with the dialogue. And we're going to very briefly demonstrate 3 different methods for editing your YouTube, your short form videos. The first method is going to be the manual method. I'm going to create a timeline, but because I'm a tidy boy, I'm going to create a bin for it first. There's my timeline. Let's go back to that PTC bin, and we're going to drag the first clip into the timeline in its entirety. Let's expand that track so we can see the waveform. And because this is mono dialogue, let's change that track to mono. But let's just zoom in a little bit. That's a nice level of zoom. Well, the great thing about editing in the timeline is you get a really clear view of the waveform. And there's a lot of work we can do before we've even listened to the dialogue. So for example, I can see that there's silence at the beginning. When you're working manually in the timeline, here's 3 different ways that you can work with your footage. Number 1, using the mouse and keyboard. And I've got an overhead view of my desk here, kind of like when you watch a gamer online and they show you a feed of their mouse and their keyboard, so you can tell they're not hacking or cheating. So there we go. All right, so hopefully we'll be able to get that on screen with the screen share as well at the same time. So you know how to edit with a mouse. Editing with a mouse is great, and a lot of people nowadays, actually, they can edit with a mouse quicker than they can with a keyboard. But let's put the mouse to one side. We'll talk about editing with the keyboard. So I've got J, K, and L. Those are my playback controls. And you know what? Let's call this a plus. It's kind of good that you can't hear the playback audio because it will just compete with me talking. So we're going to call that a plus. And I want to take off this silent section at the beginning. So I can blade, I can push Command B, and I've got selection follows playhead turned on. If I want to delete that first portion of the timeline, if I push backspace, it leaves a gap in the timeline. Let's undo that. Let's select it again. Instead of backspace, if I push delete, that ripples the timeline. So we're always looking for ways that we can go from 2 operations to 1 operation, 3 operations to 1 operation. Moving on in the timeline.
Hey, Leon, Casey here. Hey, buddy. Just to let you know, we can hear that audio now, I believe. Is that true?
Oh, excellent. Excellent.
Yeah, we can hear it now. So, okay, thanks.
Wonderful. Right.
Data footage.
So here, you're going to hear a loud cough. So obviously, we need to remove that. So here's my goal. I'm going to see if I can do that using nothing but the keyboard. I'm going to see if I can do that as efficiently as possible. So we'll position the playhead, Command B to make a cut, and I'll play forward through the cough. And then here's where I want to make my second cut. Now, if I did that Command B and then pushed delete, I've had to use 2 hotkeys for that operation. Here's a hotkey that you might not have used before, but there's a hotkey for trimming the current clip under the playhead for trimming either the beginning or the end to the playhead's location. And on my keyboard, it's going to be Shift square bracket left to trim the beginning of the clip. But we're back in that same place again where it's left a gap in the timeline. Let me undo that. If you hold down on Command Shift square bracket left, that trims off the beginning of the clip and it ripples the gap that we left in the time being. So using Command B and JK and L and that Command Shift square left bracket and square right bracket, you could make your way through this timeline doing your cleanup. So we're going to show you one more way of editing manually. And for that, let's take my keyboard out of shot. And I'm going to bring in this nifty, handy dandy speed editor. Do you guys have a speed editor? Do you like it? Well, what I love about this is that with the search dial, if I turn it at a constant speed, I can actually comprehend and understand the dialogue as I'm going through. And I can go at any speed I want without having to stab L a couple of times. I just turn the wheel faster. Let's do a quick edit with this. A little further in the video right here, there's a big silence section here. And there's also a bit where Natalie does a retake.
This video By the way, this video.
Okay, there's the retake. So there's all sorts of amazing things you can do with the speed editor. I'm just going to draw your attention to two keys, and that is split and ripple delete. And I can have my right hand on the search wheel, two fingers on split and ripple delete, and I've even got my thumb sitting on playback if I just want to do normal playback. So I can say split, scrub forward, split again, and hit ripple delete. And then I can go through my timeline, you know, doing that as often as I want. Take out a little gap there. Like, look at what a beautiful, intuitive way of working that is. So we're just touching on these topics. That's not an in-depth lesson in the speed editor. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to hit transcription because that takes a while. And Natalie's going to tell us something, I think.
I'm just going to say thanks for showing us the 3 different manual techniques, because everyone has different circumstances and different preferences. So it's great that there's options for everyone. Use the mouse and keyboard, only the hotkeys with the keyboard, or hey, get a speed editor. And it's great to see how useful and swift it is and ergonomic using the speed editor. So we're going to move on from the manual editing on the timeline to using transcription. So tell us a little bit about that whilst it's transcribing, Leon.
Very cool. So transcription, it's one of the AI features that's built into Resolve. Don't forget, this AI functionality is not sending footage to a remote server to be processed. This is all happening on device. And just a little bit of information about the hardware I'm using today. So I'm using an M4 Mac Mini, and I'm using the base spec. So this is just the $600 computer that I'm doing everything on today. So this is a 10-minute clip. It's taken about a minute to transcribe on this computer. With transcription, I'm sure you've seen it before, that now they've introduced the ability for you to edit the text transcript directly in Resolve. So you can speed read generally quicker than you can preview media in the timeline. So that's possibly for some people a quicker way of editing their dialogue. And you just delete the portions that you don't want and then select everything and throw it into the timeline. Just like this. So there's that double take that Natalie did. We can also go triple dot, remove silent portions. I'll just make a few random edits there. Delete everything in the timeline. Select just this portion and hit insert. The timings with this are rough. So don't forget, it's something that you still need to go through and do a fine pass on. But another really cool feature that transcription enables is IntelliScript. Because in this instance, our content was scripted, well, we've got a Word document with the exact dialogue that we want to see in our final edit. So I can right-click on the clip in the media pool, go to AI Tools, create new timeline using IntelliScript. There's my script. Hit open, and it has edited that clip according to the script. Those gray clips that are on the second and third line, they're disabled currently, but those are alternate takes of particular lines within the script.
Yeah, I've been loving using this tool. It's incredibly powerful, and it's also very useful to consider that if your shoot was less structured, this tool is going to assemble it in the correct order for you. So even if you went off piece and didn't record your dialogue in chronological order, and just like transcription, it does still require a human touch to do some manual editing. So it gets you to a great starting point. So
Awesome.
now that we've looked at IntelliScript and transcription, we're going to move on to section 5, screen capture. For us, screen capture is the most important part of our Resolve tutorials. Of all the sections we're covering here today, though, this is probably the most niche, as screen capture might not be a part of your videos. However, there should still be some useful tips here for you.
So first, we'll talk about how we acquire our screen capture. There are lots of great software solutions for doing it, like QuickTime or OBS. That works well on both Mac and on Windows. Those software solutions typically record the screen capture as H.264 or H.265. That's not necessarily an issue because that can deliver an incredible amount of quality. But we actually, for our videos, we record our screen capture on an external device. And one of the reasons, two of the reasons is that number one, it doesn't impact system performance. So for example, when we're trying to demonstrate how quickly Resolve can do something, well, if we're screen recording at the same time, that is going to have an impact on the resources that are available for DaVinci Resolve to use. One of the other things is that it enables us really easily to record our screen capture as ProRes. So we just get a little bit more quality out of that. One of the other things that we do with our screen capture is we record audio. I'm not talking about the output from DaVinci Resolve. I'm talking about the noise that the keyboard and the mouse makes as you use it. And there's two reasons. The first reason for that is that it hopefully, we hope, it makes the screen recordings a little bit more intuitive for people to follow along with, because there's an audible cue when we do something with the mouse or the keyboard, rather than having to look out for the subtle way that the cursor changes or the button changes when you click. The second reason will become more apparent in a moment, but we actually used to do our keyboard or mouse sound with a microphone on the desk. But nowadays, we've switched to using software to do that. So we use a program called Keybell, and hopefully, I don't know if that's coming across, but hopefully, basically, what that does is that sends clicks and typing sounds out through the computer's interface when we click.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that we're not miking the desk anymore, because you had to be really quiet while doing the screen cap. But using the software mouse clicks, it makes it easier to record the screen cap and shoot dialogue simultaneously. So that's been a good new addition.
Here's our screen recordings. They're in this folder here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into the inspector and reconfigure the audio tracks, because I left this thing recording 4 channels of audio, and we only need 1 in this instance because we just want the clicks coming off of the computer. So now that's reconfigured. Let's delete these alternate takes in the timeline and throw this in. So first of all, the second awesome thing about recording clicks is that just like when you edit interviews, you can read so much about the clip from looking at the waveform. Well, check this out. We can see the cadence of the screen recording simply by looking at the clicks or the typing within the waveform. So when we edit our screen recordings, there's 2 things typically that we're doing. Number 1, we're cutting boring sections out. Number 2, we're slowing down interesting sections where we move too fast, and we want people to have a moment to clock what's going on. And we're doing all of that in combination with syncing it up with the dialogue in the edit. So very quickly, look, here you can see that's the first time I do anything. So let's mute the sound because we don't need to hear the audio scrubbing anymore. And then we watch a bit of playback. And then here, after I've stopped the playback, you can see that there's a giant section here where nothing happens. So let's scrub forward until the mouse starts to move again. And we can remove that section of the screen recording. And now it just flows a little bit nicer for everyone who's watching. So on the other hand, one of the other things that we do is we put pauses in where we've moved too quickly. So I can see here and here there's stuff happening quite rapidly in the timeline. Let's use this example. So in this instance, we open the menu and we go straight to add speed point. Well, that might not match the dialogue. That might not be enough of a pause. Let's close the media pool, just so we've got a little bit more room. Let's add a pause here. Now, if you go up to keyboard customization in DaVinci Resolve and we search for freeze frame, there is a hotkey here for adding freeze frames. Shift R. So when I apply this to the clip, what it does is it turns the entire clip into a freeze frame based on the location where I had the playhead. That's not what I want. I'm going to place a cut between those two clicks, extend the first clip, select it, head into the video tab of the inspector, find speed change, and this button here behaves very uniquely. So when I click on it, it blades the clip where the playhead is, and then it puts the freeze frame after the playhead. And I love these minor dot releases. You know, one of the features I'd really love to see is that button have an assignable hotkey. I believe, Nat, is this correct that there is actually a freeze frame button on the editor keyboard?
Yeah, I was just going to say it's worth noting it's not on the speed editor, but on the editor keyboard, there is a freeze frame button and it performs the same way when you use the tool in Inspector.
So hopefully we can have a hotkey, if not just by an editor keyboard.
There you go.
So what's really cool is it's really nice and intuitive to work with this in the timeline. It's very easy to time this to the dialogue now and then have the recording resume where it needs to resume. One of the other things sometimes as well is we might change the speed of particular sections so that they run a little bit quicker. My mouse move, Nat's mouse move might have been particularly slow. But there is just a little bit of an insight on how we do screen recordings. So now we're going to move into talking about color. So this is section number 6. Let's head to the color page. Well, first of all, at the moment, the clip view is showing me all of the clips in the timeline, including the screen recording. That's easy to fix by clicking on the V2 and V3 track headers. And now I see just Natalie. These clips are recorded in the camera's native color space, which is Blackmagic Film Gen 5. We could color manage them using CSTs with LUTs. For a quick turnaround project like this, really easy way to do this is by heading to project settings and turning on, you guessed it, color management. Typically, we use a custom setup with something like DaVinci Wide Gamut as our intermediate color space, but for now, just going to use the standard SDR preset. Instantly, all of these shots are now properly normalized into the correct color space. All of these clips share a common ancestor, a common clip in the media pool. But now that I've cut them up, if I grade one of them, it doesn't affect the others. I need to grade them all individually. Or do I? In this instance, because all of the clips share the same source media, we can use a really cool feature called Remote Grades. Right-click on any of the clips in the timeline and go to Use Remote Grades. I've got clip 1 selected, but you can see that there is a pink icon underneath every other clip in the timeline. That indicates that those clips will be affected by the grade that I apply to clip 1. So look, if I go, whoop, you can see that all of the clips are affected.
Well, that's excellent, Leon, when you're just working with one video clip, but I believe we have another one in the media pool. It's not on the timeline yet, but if you have more than one, what should you do then?
Very good spot. So let's just reset that grade, and I'm also just going to switch this back into local grades so as not to cause any confusion, and go back to the edit page. And that's absolutely right. This video was actually performed with 2 takes. So let me pop the other take in the timeline. Remote grades would not affect that clip because it didn't share the same source clip in the media pool. In this instance, I'm going to use a feature called Group Grades. I'll select all of the clips, right-click, and go to Add into New Group. I'm simply going to call this group PTC. And now, when I select clip 1, there is an icon underneath all of the other clips. It's not that pink icon, it's now a green link icon. And this indicates that all of these clips share the same group. Don't forget, when applying group grades, the grade cannot be applied in the clip node tree. It needs to be applied in either the group pre-clip or group post-clip node tree. So now I'm back to that position again. Look at me. I'm an awesome colorist. Now they're all affected by the same clip, by the same grade. Let's actually just take the grading a little bit more seriously. Not super seriously. There's plenty of other trainers here that are going to do a wonderful job of teaching about color grading. Let's just add a little bit more contrast, add a little bit of coolness to the clip, and I'll pop another node in, and I'm going to just make a little bit of a vignette to draw focus in on the image. There you go. Look at that, Mum. I'm a colorist. So typically, YouTube workflows or this kind of quick turnaround short form content, you're filming in the same location with the same equipment, with the same lights. Well, you should be able to, if your setup doesn't change, reuse the same grade from video to video. We all know that if you right-click on the viewer and go to grab still, that will pop a copy of that color grade and a little reference shot of it in your gallery. But that still is only accessible in the current project that you're working on. Well, we want to be able to access it in other projects. It's really simple. Take the grade, drag it into the Power Grade folder. And once it's in the Power Grade folder, it is now accessible from any other project that's in the same library as the one that you're working on.
Okay, so you said that it's available in only the same projects, in all the projects in the one library. So if you have more than one library, or if you want to collaborate with editors working in another library, you can export the Power Grade as a DRX, and then they can import it into their library. So you can share the Power Grades out.
Spot on. So, hey, not a color grading tutorial, but just a couple of tips for helping you to work effectively with your short form content. We're now going to head back to the edit page very briefly. I'm just going to import the finished copy of this project. I've got a DRT. I'll just drag it in. So here is what this project looks like finished. Let me just slim those tracks down, and I will just disable the subtitles so we don't see them. Right, so there's what the finished project looks like, give or take. We're going to talk briefly about audio. Do you know what, though? I'm going to go back to...
You jumped the gun.
Yeah, I did. I jumped the gun. Let's go back to my less finished project. Let's jump into the audio timeline. Let's just talk briefly about some things that you can do to make your audio work more efficient and effective. We absolutely love voice isolation, so that typically gets turned on with everything that we record. I want to spend just a moment exploring the dynamics controls. So I'm opening up the dynamics controls for track 1, which is where my audio is. And in here, I'm going to do 4 things. I just want to hasten to add that there are lots of wonderful audio YouTube trainers. Go watch their videos if you want to learn in depth what a compressor, what a gate does, what a limiter does. This is just going to be a whistle-stop tour. The compressor is great because it attenuates loud sounds in your recording. You don't want people's ears to be blown when you get excited and for them to struggle to hear what you're saying when you talk softer. So the compressor allows you to lower the dynamic range, and it does that not by raising the quiet portions of the recording. It does it by attenuating the loud portions. I love this visualizer that you get in here. So the threshold configures where that compressor starts working. So anything above -20 dB will be attenuated. The ratio controls how much those sounds get lowered, and attack, hold, and release allow you to affect the speed at which the compressor engages and disengages. So why is this cool? Because it saves you from having to go through and manually keyframe the volume in your video. This is saving you time and increasing the quality of what you do. The next thing that we're going to turn on is the gate. The gate lowers the volume of your signal when you stop talking. So if you don't have the studio version of Resolve and you don't have voice isolation, the gate's actually a really powerful tool to learn how to use, because you generally can't hear the noise in a recording while someone's talking. But when they stop talking, that's when you become aware of all of the buzz in the room. Another thing that the gate does is the gate helps us to dynamically, automatically edit out all of those noises that you make in between talking. So the smacking sounds you make with your mouth, or the big breath that you draw in before you start talking. So you want to set the gate, the threshold, you want to set it so that it's quieter than when you talk, but the threshold is louder than those smacking sounds and breathing sounds that you make. So maybe I'm going to configure mine somewhere around -40. That will increase the range so it completely turns off sounds that go below that volume. And I typically like to apply some hold. And what that does is it stops it from cutting off the ends of my words. Next thing that we're going to turn on is the limiter.
And you might think, why do we need a limiter when we've already applied a compressor? But compressors don't respond instantly. Remember, Leon made settings for the attack, the hold, and release. That means a really quick and sudden loud noise could get passed through the compressor. That's why we add the limiter, so it can catch anything that might escape the compressor.
So I'm going to set the threshold to somewhere just above where the compressor was operating. And then the final thing that I'm going to do is, because the compressor and the limiter have all attenuated the recording, made it quieter, we actually need to add makeup or gain back to the signal so it comes through at a moderate volume. So I'm going to set that at 7 dB. In this instance, that's effectively making my limiter kill the signal at -1 dB. Now, maybe that was fairly advanced, some of the audio things that we quickly touched on, but the point that we're making with this is that all of this work that I've done in here has prevented us from having to manually keyframe audio in the edit page. This is helping us to deliver a higher quality product and to do it more efficiently. So now is the bit where I load in the completed timeline, which you definitely didn't see me do earlier. So here it is. I want to talk briefly about graphics. So we're on to section 8, talking about graphics. I think Patrick Sterling, he has a session scheduled that sounds really exciting. And there's other Fusion presenters as well. But particularly this one from Patrick, I'm picking it out because I think he's talking, about creating Fusion templates and Fusion effects that you can reuse. Someone is. If it's not Patrick, I apologize. But all of the branded graphics that we put in our videos, they're all created as Fusion templates. And here's an example. So this is our swipe that we use to go between different sections in the video. This graphic was created in Fusion, but it's editable in the edit page. So I can type something, I can type whatever I want in here, and that'll update the graphic without me traveling to the Fusion page. Similarly, if I jump forward, we use things like arrows to draw people's attention to particular parts of the interface. Well, again, that arrow is an asset that was created in Fusion, but it's completely controllable in the edit page. If you turn on the Fusion overlay, you can even click and drag it within the viewer. One final thing just on graphics before we move on. Whenever we zoom in on a screen recording, we do it using an adjustment layer. So that means that we can spread that zoom in over several cuts in the screen recording underneath. Our screen recordings are UHD, 60 frames per second. We target UHD delivery. So that means we do need to be careful with how much we zoom in, because we will start to see quality issues. But for kicks and giggles here, I'm going to zoom this all the way up to 16 times.
And go ahead and close the media pool again so we can see it further. Thank you.
Excellent idea. Look at this. Look at all of these nasty artifacts on the UI once I've zoomed in. Even though I've recorded ProRes, I've still got these artifacts for some reason. Well, actually, these artifacts aren't in the source recording. They are a consequence of the resize filter that Resolve is using to zoom in. So I've got the adjustment clip selected because that's where I'm doing my zoom. Scroll all the way down here, and at the moment you can see the clip in the inspector is using project settings for its resize filter. If I head to project settings, you can see that the project setting for resize filter is sharper. Check this out. If I change the resize filter from sharper to smoother, look how much less noticeable, how much those artifacts are. Look how much better it looks. You might even want to mess around with resize filters like Box that preserve the pixelation of the screen. Because people expect that when you zoom in. They're not going to be shocked to see those square pixels. So you could decide that you prefer that style. So those were just some quick hot tips on producing your graphics. Well, the next thing to do is to deliver the final video. We upload our content to YouTube using H.264 and H.265. There's no need to send the ProRes files because that's more quality than YouTube will ever utilize. So we're quite happy using the H.265 or H.264 master presets. Sometimes if it's like a recording that's got lots of film grain in, we'll have it use a higher bit rate. But YouTube is still going to smush up that noise once it gets to it. But at least we've not smushed it up with our delivery. We love in Resolve using under YouTube settings, the upload directly to YouTube. And we'll also enable chapters from markers. So you can see here in the timeline, I've already got chapter markers built into the video. That means I don't have to manually type them in later. We upload to YouTube in H.264 or H.265. We always keep a ProRes archive copy of our videos locally. Now, I could add this H.264 render to the queue and then make another ProRes render and add that to the queue. But Resolve would have to process my entire timeline twice. Check this out. In the triple dot menu, create additional video output. Now
This is such an easy feature to miss. Sorry, Leon. I was just going to say, this is such an easy one to miss. All these little triple dot menus, always need to look inside them, don't we?
Explore them. Right. So on the second one, so, you know, I've got my first one set up as H.264, and the second one, I can configure this as ProRes. And then Resolve is going to do one render pass through the timeline, but it's going to output both copies of the video. And it's going to do that all in one.
Don't forget to mention audio normalization.
Oh, thank you so much. All right, so we'll go back to tab 1. We always use audio normalization, optimize to, and we use the YouTube standard.
Well done.
Question for you, Natalie. What time are we at?
We're ready to go into section 10.
Oh, well then there you go. We've nailed the timing. Right, good. So finally, section 10, templates. So we did mention power grades previously, and there's some really cool features where you can save audio track layouts in Fairlight. But we saw a really cool tip from Mr. Alex Tech, where basically he took all of the work that he'd done in his project and he cleaned out the bins and he cleaned out the timelines and he exported it as a DRP. And then whenever he starts a new project, he double clicks on that DRP and it creates a new project in the timeline with all of his bins, all of his common assets, all of his timeline setup done already for him to start his new project. And we really, really love that tip. So I'm not going to attempt to demonstrate it again, but hopefully someone will put a link in the chat to that, or maybe there'll be a link in the description at some point. But that's a great tip and it's well worth a watch. So I know we didn't go into every single aspect of our workflow in detail, but what we wanted to do was to take a little trip through all of the different stages of post-production and try and show that in each stage, there are decisions that you can make and there are tools that you can use that make your production, your post-production more efficient. And ultimately, at the end of the day, that gives you more time to create more videos, or that gives you more time to spend on the really cool creative stuff. I hope that was helpful.
Well done, Leon. Over to you, Casey.
Thank you so much, Natalie and Leon, for the wonderful presentation. We're going to go into our Q&A time now. And we have some wonderful questions here from the chat. First one from Jason Parker. question for you guys. What the heck was that external device for recording the screen? How does it work?
Oh, forgive me. I'm so sorry because I flashed this, but I never said what it was. This is just a Blackmagic Video Assist. So it's just an external recorder. It has HDMI inputs and it has SDI inputs. There are other external recorders on the market. This is the one that we use. But what's really nice is it sits on the desk and there's a record button on the front, and it's very easy to stop and to start. And we get this terrific ProRes file at the end, which we then just load onto the computer. So this is a Video Assist. This is the 7-inch model. There's also a 5-inch model.
Man, we have a handful of those here at the studio ourselves. We use them all the time. They're fantastic. Andrew asks, can we please see the script type file and document layout that was used when importing the script?
Very good. It is very simply a text file. So it's not a script in the traditional sense. It doesn't have slug lines and scenes and things like that. It is just the dialogue in a straight text file. So we write this in Pages or in Word. This is just it saved out as a text file.
Sure. That's great. Okay. Next question from Ravikant says, H.264 footage is extremely terrible for editing, even on my 10-core 12th gen CPU and RTX 4070 because of lack of H.264 decoding engine. Is it worth getting an RTX 50 series for it?
Oh, that's a good question. I can't speak to the specific hardware that you have. I do know that for us, H.264 and H.25 is a pleasant experience. And I'm sure that a great deal of that is on account of the fact that the computers that we use, yes, they do have H.264 and H.265 decoding hardware. Don't forget with those codecs, it's not simply that it's H.264 or H.265. It could be that it's long-op rather than all-I. With all-I, it does increase the quality of H.264 and H.265 files, but the biggest benefit of all-I is that it's easier for your computer to use because it doesn't have to decode groups of frames. So what I'd hate to do is to give you a recommendation and you spend money on hardware and you realize that the problem was elsewhere in your workflow. But that could be a possible solution. We're working on a video about the 5000 series NVIDIA cards. And what we've been able to do is test the 5060, the 5070, the 5080, and the 5090. And we want to produce some stats on the cost to performance ratio. But there's tons of info out there about gaming on a 5000 series card, but we want to produce stats that are specific to how Resolve performs with those different cards. So hopefully within about a month or so, we might have that video out.
That's going to be a wonderful resource. Not a Secret Agent asks, when using remote grades, can you still use a local grade on a section without deactivating the remote grade on the rest of the associated clips?
Excellent question. Are you really not a secret agent? I mean, how do we know? You might just be saying that to throw us off.
Double bluff.
That's exactly what a secret agent would want you to think.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly what a secret agent would say. So if I right click and go use remote grades, everything's a remote grade now. Those options in the menu universally change everything. But if I want to say make 3 not a remote grade, roll that back to local, up the top here, all I need to do is just load a local grade. And you can see now when I click on clip 1, clip 3 is no longer highlighted. When I click on clip 3, I don't see any other clips indicated as being remote grades. It's a very good question.
Yeah,
Mr. Bond.
Great stuff. Paul Cooper asks, if you were making a short film with multiple location recording, would you apply those Fairlight effects the same way, or do they need adjustment for each individual location recording?
Yes. Imagine if we, let's just do 2 scenarios here. So we'll step up 1 level of complexity. So imagine me and Natalie are in a video together, which we do from time to time. We would put our dialogue in separate tracks so that we can apply different compression, different EQ settings to us individually. And then by extension, if me and Nat were in a video together and we did something in the studio, and then we also went and did something out in the field, well, those audio recordings would then get pushed onto a different track. So we'd have Natalie inside, Natalie outside, Leon inside, Leon outside. So we try to group those recordings into as fewer tracks as possible. But yeah, we will break them out so that we can control them individually.
Makes a lot of sense. Casey Ferris asked, how much of your videos do you script? How close is the final product usually to the script?
Oh my goodness. You guys are learning all the secrets now. So we tend to script most of our content. And we love watching unscripted content, and we just sort of found a rhythm for us with doing the scripted stuff. There's so many beautiful advantages to doing unscripted content, and we love the authenticity of what I assume are these unscripted videos that we're watching. So different methods have different advantages. We feel like with scripted content, one of the things that it allows us to do is to be efficient and concise with what we say, because we want to get information over to people as quickly and effectively as possible so that they can get on with the professional job they're editing, or, you know, go back to watching other stuff on YouTube. So yeah, we tend to do most of it scripted, and it ends up, what generally happens is when we record our videos, you write the script, you read through it, and then you perform it and you say it out loud, and you're like, what on earth did we write there? So we'll make tweaks as we go, and we'll keep them updated in the script as well. Does that answer the question, or is there any more follow-up on that, Casey?
I was just going to add to it that it's twofold. I feel like it makes it more efficient for the listener to learn, because we are striving to be as concise with our teaching, but also from a production point of view, it makes it incredibly quick for us. We go into our job, we know what we're discussing so clearly because of the prep that we went into writing. So even if we're not referring to the script in our delivery, it's just familiarity, right? So I think it just aids the process to be efficient in production, and then hopefully it's beneficial to anyone who's listening and the learners.
Sure. Yeah, and if you'll hate it, please let us know.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, thank you, both of you, for the wonderful presentation. Guys, give it up for Leon and Natalie. Thank you so much, Team 2 Films.
Thank you for having us. Thank you,
Thanks
Leon.
for having us.
Wonderful.
Thank you, everyone.
It's our pleasure. All right, we're going to get on to the giveaway portion of our of today's stream here. Giveaway number 3. We're giving away some cool stuff here, you guys. We have a pack of editor titles and the editor collection from WIP Templates. Congratulations to Steppen for winning that. A $100 Motion VFX in-store credit goes to Hamza. The Speed Editor, Matthew. Congratulations, Matthew. And the Resolve Editor keyboard goes to this is one of the struggles when you read things live. Abduwalid. I did my best. Congratulations. You will be getting an email here in a little bit if you've won something. And if you have yet to register to win anything during a ResolveCon presentation, please check the description below to make sure you're entered there. You only have to enter once. And when you're in for the whole event. So we are going to be also doing not just today and tomorrow for ResolveCon, but there are actually 2 extra days on Saturday and Sunday, but you can only get to those through a VIP pass. Make sure you get your VIP ticket now. Click the link in the description, guys. We still have a few seats left, and you're not going to want to miss it. Also, if you're looking for more DaVinci Resolve education, look no further than groundcontrol.film, because this weekend we are hosting 25% off of all the courses. And if you use coupon code RC25GC, you'll get that applied to your cart. and you're going to get a smoking deal on some incredible education. Guys, up next is is Frenchie Color, who is a incredible colorist and friend. She's going to be talking about the must-have color grading looks that bring the clients back. If you're into Resolve, if you're into color, you're not going to want to miss this. We're going to take a quick break to get some things set up for her, and we will see you guys very soon. Stick around.